It was in the late 1980s at my first IT job at Electronic Data Systems in California where I met the network guru. I mean, he was the shizzle, Mr. David Nelson. And at that time, it was Novell NetWare, and that was my first exposure to it. And it was then, those early days, I learned a first really important lesson about security. And that is this. In order to properly give people the rights and the access they need without going crazy doing it, is to do it logically in groups. So here's our organization for SharePoint. We've got Acme as a top-level site, and then below that we have a HR site, and a sales site, and an engineering site. And each of those sites has several libraries, some for the pages, some for document libraries that we created as well. And when we created, way early on in this Nugget series, when we created these sub-sites, there was a little question that asked us, do you want to have inheritance from the parent site? And for all three of these, I said yes. And what that means is any rights and privileges we give to users like Bob, for example, at the Acme level, he'll have those same rights in these sub-sites and the libraries and lists in those sub-sites as well. But the challenge is that I learned early on is that if we give Bob as an individual account rights and permissions to the top level site and he inherits those, that's fine for Bob. But what if there's like 2,000 or 3,000 other people that need those same rights? It's a hassle to go in user by user and manage rights at that user level. So instead, here's what we do. We set up groups. So let's say we have a group called members, and we give that members group access to the top level site, which are inherited by default in our topology down to these subsites. And then when Bob is added to the company, we just make Bob a member of the members group, and he, through association with that group, gets the same rights. So Bob and Lois and the other 2,000 people, we simply make members of that group, and they automatically have the rights. And if something changes where we no longer want Bob to have access to the SharePoint environment, we can simply remove him from the group, and as a result, he would lose the rights that he had gotten through the group. And we're in luck with SharePoint, because in SharePoint, there are some default permissions that are set up for us that we can use, and there's also some default groups that we can use that already have been given some of those permissions. And I'd like to walk you through the interface to show you how you can access that. So here on our Windows 10 computer, we'll go ahead and launch Chrome from the taskbar and connect over to SharePoint. We'll authenticate as administrator with our lab password and press enter to log in. So connected here to our SharePoint environment, logged on as the administrator. Over here on the left, I want to go over to engineering subsite from the quick launch and then to the engineering document library just for a moment because I've got a document that I uploaded in our previous nugget, but I never checked it in. So I'm going to take a moment just to check in document 3 from the engineering document library. And this icon right here, that little green arrow in the bottom right-hand corner indicates that it's checked out, not checked in. So we'll go ahead, and there's several ways of doing it. We've covered this in a previous nugget. We'll click on the ellipsis next to Doc 3, click on the ellipsis from that subsequent pop-up, and then go to Advanced. And from the Advanced menu, I'm going to go ahead and select Check In. And I'll click on OK to confirm it. Fantastic. So now Doc 3 is checked in. It's still pending approval because we have content approval enabled on this document library. So what I thought would be fun is, as we take a look at permissions and groups and so forth, let's add a user to a group that has the ability to do an approval, and then we'll log on as that user and make sure we can do the approval. So to start off, let's go ahead and just go to the top level site, Acme LLC, and I just use the link in the top navigation for that. And then to configure the permissions and the groups, we're going to use the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner area, and from the drop down, we're going to go to Site Settings. So clicking on Site Settings, it'll take us over to, you guessed it, Site Settings. So here under Users and Permissions, we have People and Groups and also Site Permissions. So let's take a look at Site Permissions first by clicking on the Site Permissions link right here. So we'll click on Site Permissions. And what it's done is taken us to the Permissions tab, and it's showing us some groups that already exist on our SharePoint system and some permissions that those groups already have. If we want to take a specific look at permissions, we're going to go ahead with the Permissions tab selected. We're going to click right here on the Permission Level button. So we'll click on Permission Levels, and it's showing us the built-in permission levels that came with this SharePoint environment because I have not configured or tweaked any of these yet. And I would also recommend not modifying any of these default permission levels that come with SharePoint. So for example, if you want to create a permission level, a custom one, that is very much like this one of contribute, but you want to change a few little things, you can go ahead and take that contribute permission that's pre-built and create a new permission based on that and then customize it. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and simply click on this contribute permission level. And what that does, it then shows us all the nitty-gritty permissions that are associated with that permission level called contribute. So if we scroll down, there are lots and lots of detailed permissions. So this permission level called contribute has all the features where we have a check in the checkbox. So we can notice that one of the features that the contribute permission level doesn't have is the ability to approve items. Only an individual who either directly or through group membership has the permission of approve items will be able to approve those documents. So as we scroll down, there's lots and lots and lots of options here that we could select or deselect. But here's the key. If we wanted to create a brand new permission level that was similar to a built-in, a default one, the proper thing to do would be to go to that permission level that pre-exists and click on this button right here, Copy Permission Level. When we click on Copy, it walks us through the creation of a brand new permission level. And let's call this our custom level. And it's going to have all the same settings that the previous one did. And if we want to modify it, we simply click the check boxes that we want or deselect checks that are already there, and then scroll all the way to the very bottom and click on Create. And now that's created our custom level, which is very similar to Contribute, except for a couple of little tweaks that we made where we added a check or removed a check before we saved our custom permission level. And if we've created custom levels that we want to delete, we could select it and simply select Delete, and that would remove it once we confirm it with an OK. So it's great news that all these permission levels are built in for us. It's also great news that they've got several groups in SharePoint already created for us. So if we want to use the backspace, we could to get back. Or if we were deep in the weeds and wanted to go back through the gear, we could click on the gear, go to Site Settings again, and then once again go to Site Permissions to take us back to that area. So what this is showing us here is that these permission levels, the ones that came with SharePoint, have automatically been assigned to these groups that also have automatically come with SharePoint. So the members group has edit permissions. The owners group has full control. The site visitors has read-only access. And again, these over here on the right are referring to permission levels that are already set up in SharePoint. And then there's a group for Excel services viewers with view only. And if we go back, let's go ahead and use the back button this time, to Site Settings, and we select People and Groups right here under the Users and Permissions section. This is showing the groups. So currently the Acme Inc. root site members group has no members in it. If we click on, for example, the visitors group right here, that also has no members in it. And if we click on the site owners group, it has the administrator account, which is the one that we've been using up to this point for all of our work inside of SharePoint. So right now, anybody else who tried to log on to SharePoint and start using it, because we haven't given anybody rights to it through group membership, effectively no one would be able to use our SharePoint environment unless they happen to log on as administrator. So let's imagine that we have a user in Active Directory that we want to add as a member to the member group for Acme Inc. What we could do is click on this Acme Inc. root site members group, and then from the new menu, from the drop-down, simply select Add Users to this group and add them. So if we click on the Add Users option, it says we can enter their names or email address or everyone, and we can also put in a note that they'll receive as part of a notification message if we send them an email. So with either a name or an email address, it would be looking inside of Active Directory for a user account that matches that. So let's say, for example, we want to add a user like Bob. We could type in Bob. When we click on Share, it'll verify that name, that user exists in Active Directory. And then in SharePoint, that user account will be part of the members group. And the members group, because it has rights to the top level site and the subsites as a result of inheritance, effectively that user, as a member of that group, would be able to go ahead and use the site. Another way of adding Bob would be to go ahead and go to the Acme site, and then we have this share link up in the top right. So if we clicked on share, we can go ahead and put Bob's name in again, and this also gives us the option to control how much access we're going to give Bob. Now because we're logged on as admin, we're an owner, we have full access to the entire site. From the drop down here we can select what we want to give Bob. So if I wanted to give Bob full control, that would effectively put Bob in the owners group in SharePoint instead of the members group. So let's do that because I want Bob to be a site administrator, and we'll put Bob's name up there as well, and we'll click on share. And when I clicked on share, you'll notice that the error message went away, which is a good indicator, and we'll click on share one more time to make it happen. So now it takes us back to the group we left off with, which was the members group. But if we go down to the owners group right here, we can see that Bob is now a member of that group. And the way this works is simple. Because the owners group has permissions to the site, and Bob is a member of that group. Therefore, Bob effectively has those same permissions to the site, which in this example is going to be full control because of the group he's in. Now, one way of verifying this is to log in as Bob and just verify that Bob does have full control, including the ability to approve a document in a document library. So in the upper right-hand corner, let's go ahead and we'll use the drop-down and we'll say sign out. I'll close that browser. Let's reopen up Chrome and we'll log on this time as Bob. And Bob is in Active Directory, and Bob's password is NUGGET !23, just like it is for everything else in this lab, and we'll press enter to log on as Bob. Then, logged on as Bob, over on the left, let's go to the engineering subsite using the quick launch, and further, let's go to the engineering document library, again using the quick launch over here on the left-hand side. Because in a previous nugget, we already enabled content approval on this document library, let's go ahead and click on the view called Approve/Reject Items. Here we have Doc3 that was created and modified by the system account, and the approval status is currently pending. So if we wanted to approve that, we could go ahead and click on the ellipsis next to that document, click on the ellipsis from the subsequent pop-up, then from that drop-down go to Advanced, and then from the Advanced drop-down we'll go over to Approve/Reject, and we'll click on Approve/Reject. So then we can go ahead and click the radio button next to Approved, and we can put in a comment. I like this doc. Whatever comment you want to include with the approval of that document, and we'll click on OK. So there's the document. The status is now approved. There's the comment. And the reason that Bob can approve this document in a subsite is because he's a member of a group that's assigned full control at the top level site, and that is inherited by default to the subsites and all of the content in those subsites as well. So what I would love you to do now, my friend, is go ahead and practice what we've seen here in the hands-on lab. Click on the lab link over to the right if you're logged on from a computer at the CBT Nuggets website to get the hands-on practice reinforcing the skills of, first of all, knowing where to go to navigate to see the permission levels in the groups, as well as practice the skills of adding a user to a group. And besides Bob, if you want to play around, besides Bob inside of Active Directory, I've also got a user named Lois. So either one of those, you could go ahead and add to the groups as part of your practice with group membership. So have fun with that. Meanwhile, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.